Now, way back in time, when Australia were playing Ireland in any global tournament, you'd say, yeah, Australia have a great chance. Australia are going to steamroll Ireland. But this T20 World Cup, it's been such a tournament that you can't say that with certainty, which is why it makes it so much more special. Hello and welcome. You're watching Cricbuzz Live. My name is Tanay Tiwari. With me, Joy Bhattacharjya, Simon Doull. Welcome along, gentlemen. And Simon, I've reliably learned that portrait behind you is a picture of you from a party that you were at last night. And it wasn't me. I was told the same by Joy Bhattacharjya, who was in your room, it seems, making Insta Reels.
I had someone commissioned to paint it and then put it in my room before I arrived.
That was quick.
I just thought it was a nice welcoming. As you can see, these are thumbtacks, drawing pins, call them what you like. I just glued them on.
Yeah.
And just thought it would be something nice and different to go out on the town.
Lovely.
No, I just wanted to say that I hope you're keeping your room properly locked because, see, there are only some people's rooms who are regarded as special. So one is, Virat Kohli because of what he is. But best collection of shoes in the entire Southern Hemisphere. How many shoes do you have in your room right now, Simon? Tell me.
I left 4 pairs in Sydney and I've got 5 pairs with me here for 2 days. All they would find would be a mess if they walked into my room right now. And I don't think they would. Well, they might take my golf clubs. That might be something that they would take or take a picture of.
might still make for an interesting watch, Just seeing the amazing pair of shoes that Simon has.
Yeah, but I want to actually say this point, and in all seriousness, people are saying that why is Virat reacting like this? The truth of it is that people have just walked into his room and they've taken a picture, and it's a neat room. It's not that anyone was there in the room and all that.
Yeah.
But here's what I want everyone to think about. Think about the fact that you go home one day and you feel somebody has sat in your bed, walked around, moved your stuff, and been inside there. There's a sense of violation. It doesn't have to do with anything else. It's not to do with, okay, what have they shown? They've shown nothing bad. The room was clean. It's not that it's revealing. But it's an invasion of privacy, the sense that you've been violated. Somebody could come and do that to you. And that, especially to people who are, in a position where they're stars, is deeply, deeply unsettling. And that's why I'm saying that in India, there's a tendency in these situations to turn around and say, what? He just walked into the room and made a video. Why are they making such a big deal about it? It's not. It's like somebody saying, somebody's come into your room, walked in and done whatever they wanted to, and you couldn't stop them. That is what it is all about.
Yeah, or actually turn around and say, well, he's a cricketer, he's a celebrity, he signed up for it. But he didn't. He didn't. And especially, Simon, for a lot of these Indian celebrities, because of the fanfare around them, they're always in the public eye. That private space is shrinking every year. And here, if someone reaches into your room and shows what medicines you're taking, what protein you're taking, it's not cool.
No, not at all. Look, and it's a hotel.
Yeah.
It is a hotel situation as well. I mean, it's one place where you think your room should be okay. You should be able to leave stuff lying around your room and expect that whoever comes in, whether it be the cleaners or whether it be someone dropping off your dry cleaning, whether it be a management person. Now I looked at that video and the person in the video seemed to have a jacket and trousers on, so it didn't look like they were cleaning staff. It looked like they were slightly more management. They must now know that their job is gone. Yeah. They will never work in that hotel again. So it seems quite silly, first and foremost, just to get some clicks on your Instabook account. Look, I don't know. I honestly don't know the reason behind it. Whether whoever it was, male or female, thought that they could sell the footage to someone. But I'm with Joy. It is a violation of privacy, and it's not something that that should be out there in the social media. And as you said, Tanay, it's shrinking every time. And we're very fortunate, whether it be from New Zealand, Australia. I mean, now living overseas, obviously, but we can walk around. We can do pretty much what we want. In India, that's not the case for the superstars. They can't go anywhere without being mobbed. And I know it's adoration, but it is too much. Sometimes it is just too much.
Yeah. There's a very fine line, and you've got to know, you've got to define that line and always stay on the right side of it. But now we turn our gazes to this game, Australia versus Ireland. Ireland have won the toss and opted to bowl first. What we hear from the ground, and of course Simon is in Brisbane. It's overcast, Simon. Again, you've taken the weather to another city again.
I just keep taking there's a Crowded House song if you want to find it after the show. It's just basically says everywhere you go, always take the weather with you, and that's kind of my mantra at the moment. That's what I'm doing. I'm looking out my window across the beautiful city of Brisbane at the moment, and it is dark and cloudy, and dare I say it, it looks like rain is on the way. Maybe not soon, maybe not tonight, but definitely at some stage in the next 8 to 10 hours, there is a lot of rain supposedly coming to Brisbane.
Not good news. Let's have a look at Australia's playing 11. They really want game time out there, especially after that thrashing in the first game. They've got one change. Adam Zampa comes in for Ashton Agar. Otherwise, you don't need changes, especially now that Matthew Wade has tested COVID negative. So that kind of balances things out for them, Joy. Let's have a look at the Irish team as well, because they've, emerged as contenders ever since they've beaten England. They're in the race for the semis, and they're really confident of getting into the semis, and that's reflecting in the fact that they've not made a change at all, Joy. They seem very confident.
They seem very confident. Also, look, Joshua Little is giving them everything. Joshua Little he's a serious revelation ever since I saw him for the Manchester Originals. I mean, that kind of bowling, left arm bowling, the kind of things that he does with the ball. I think Joshua Little is somebody who's an absolute champion. And my sense is that if Joshua Little plays well for them, they have a great bowling attack. The batting, their big gun has actually not fired so far. Harry Tector is really the guy they think is the next big thing in Irish cricket, in batting. And he hasn't fired. It's Sterling who's given them runs, Balbirnie who's given them runs. So they think that, these guys are going well. And one thing, don't mistake, we've been talking about why the other countries are doing so well. The countries who've come through the first round are doing so well. One of the reasons is they've got a bit of an extended run into the tournament. You can have all the practice matches you want to, but nothing replaces performances in the middle. So all the guys coming from the to the Super 12 from the first round have a bit of a headwind. They've got momentum. They've won there. They've made the top 2. They've made it here. So they have momentum, and that's what Ireland has going for them.
Yeah, which is why this becomes such a crucial game for Australia, Simon. And if we look at what they have to do to make it to the semis, I mean, when the tournament started, all of us thought Australia were the favourites, and then New Zealand did the New Zealand thing and quietly, surreptitiously have almost made it to the semis. But for Australia now, the equation isn't the easiest, which is why they've got to win this game and perhaps win it with a biggish margin.
Yeah, they do. They need to sort that run rate out, and they need to hope. I mean, if New Zealand beat England tomorrow night and Australia win their last 2 games, then Australia are through. That's what they'll be hoping for first and foremost. But you look at that there. I mean, win all, New Zealand 2 wins, they're through. England 2 wins, Australia 2 wins. So that's the situation, I suppose, that we could get to 7 points all. I think if England beat New Zealand and then win their last game, and then Australia win their last 2, then everybody could be on 7 points, providing New Zealand win their last game as well. So it's going to come down to net run rate, you would think, at some stage, and that's the sort of the tough thing from Australia and England's point of view. So Aussie need to first and foremost worry about winning, because if they go into this game thinking net run rate, they could get tripped up. Especially on a surface after Ireland bowled so well against England down in Melbourne. I just feel that if they go into this game looking only at net run rate, thinking that the win is a foregone conclusion, they could get tripped up. So they have to worry about winning first and then sort the net run rate out. And when you've got to set a total, that's not always as easy. Yeah,
it isn't. And especially now that they're batting first with overcast conditions, Joy, and the opening combo hasn't really got going. Aaron Finch's struggles have been, of course, longer than David Warner's, but David Warner's also hasn't really come into his own in this tournament. And now you're facing Mark Adair and Josh Little, 2 very good new ball bowlers.
Yeah, they need David Warner to fire, because, I mean, Aaron Finch, I'll tell you, he had a really, he struggled to bat that day, but he was there for a long, long time. That still makes a difference. It still makes a difference that they're there for 35, 40 odd balls, because that gives you time in the middle. And he'll time it better. But I will tell you, go and ask any batsman, would you have rather got out for 0 or struggled out there? And you said, even struggling out there gives you a sense of the conditions, what's happening. It's time out in the middle. And that's what David Warner has not got. And mind you, David Warner has had a spectacular T20 season since 2019. But not for the past 3-4 months because he's been injured, he's not been played. They've sort of kept him in cotton wool because he's such an important player. And now he's just not got going. Of course, given the stop start and all the rain hit matches and all, it's just a bit of a problem. So Warner is a key to this tournament. There are two keys. One is Warner, the other is Zampa also has done well, but Zampa really needs to fight for them. And I still feel I can't see how Pat Cummins is keeping Kane Richardson out. I mean, I just, or Cameron Green, whatever the case. I just don't think he's a fantastic guy, he's a fantastic player. This is not his format.
Yeah, we'll get to that in just a bit. But the equation for Australia seems pretty simple. 160 seems to be that comfortable mark, Simon. So if they score 160 today, they have to beat Ireland by 76 runs to go past England's net run rate. So those equations are starting to get tough for Australia.
Yeah, they are. Look, as I say, it's all about putting runs on the board first up for them and then worry about things later on in the evening. The reason that Ireland have bowled first, I would imagine, is that it's been fresh. The surface always has a little bit in it here in Brisbane. And just in case that rain comes, where England got caught out by the rain against Ireland down in Melbourne, they don't want to get caught out by the rain. They want to make sure that they know exactly where they need to be with the Duckworth-Lewis-Stern system if that rain does arrive a little bit earlier than it's predicted. But I always think there's some good pace and good bounce in the surface here in Brisbane. If their bowlers can get their length right, much like they did in Melbourne, just get it slightly fuller, and we saw that. They just nipped it around a touch. There was a little bit of swing as well. They could cause some trouble up front for Australia, and they do need to be very careful, I think, trying to maybe go a little bit gung-ho and too aggressive up front.
Now, if you have a look at that points table, this group was always going to be tough. I mean, the moment these teams were slotted, you knew that this was the tougher group with New Zealand, England, Australia. People were counting Afghanistan, Sri Lanka were coming in as Asian champions. But Ireland, Troy, have really sprung a surprise. And that's now started, reflecting even in their statements post-games. Post the Afghanistan washout, the captain was very solid in his statement. He said that, don't count us out. We've played some really good cricket. We've got some great confidence going for ourselves, and something that you said as well. Because you come in from round 1 into Super 12s, you've got that headwind. Look at that. Andrew Balbirnie says you never know what's going to happen in this competition with the rain and stuff and NRR. And of course, Simon going with the weather everywhere that he is. Essentially, we're going to win games against two of the best teams in the world. And if we can put our best foot forward and try to do that, who knows what can happen? That's confidence speaking.
There's two things. One is you just look at how well Ireland has played in the last 6-7 months. They've won a series against West Indies. They've done really well against India. They've done well against India. All close matches. Just take a look at that. Lost by 4 there. 2 really tight defeats, and especially the second one I remember was really crazy. They beat Afghanistan. But one of the things that I want to tell you is that there's a second point out there which we don't seem to think. Where does Ireland play? Where is Ireland based? Where does Afghanistan play? Afghanistan plays mostly in Delhi and Noida and UP and Dehradun. Okay? Where does Sri Lanka play? They play in Colombo. Where do you think the tracks are more, suitable or the kind of conditions, overcast conditions? Where do you think the Irish boys play? They're mostly playing in the UK. They're playing in leagues out there, minor leagues out there. So the kind of players that you're getting are much more suited for these conditions than they would be for, say, the UAE. And that's a huge advantage to them.
Yeah, now they've also got to maximize these conditions, Simon, you'd say. Now that they are in this position to really make a dent to a lot of these big teams, they've got to go out there and say, we got to do it.
Yeah, too often these sides come off the back of a great win against a top-tier nation, and then they put in a really poor performance in the next game. So that's the one thing that I look at all of these sides that come through round 1. The other thing, you have to remember that those top 4 qualification spots are still vital. So they'll be looking for that as well as looking for semi-final spots. There's a lot up for grabs in the next, week and a half in this tournament still. So many things to worry about, so many permutations, whether it be run rate, whether it be making sure of that top 4 spot so you don't have to go through round 1 or qualification again for the next ICC T20 World Cup. So there's a lot to think about, but I just love to see these teams that surprise a top-tier nation back it up again in the next game and not be overawed by one win and then sort of falling away.
Yeah, consistency is really a key, and especially in this group. Joy, you trick us with all of your joy factors. I'm going to ask you a question now. The TT factor. Let's have a look at the points table.
Yeah.
And who are your top 4? Who are your top 4 at the end of Super 12 from this group? Tough one.
No, I'm going to stick my neck out. I think you're looking at the top 4 right now, not in the same order.
Okay, yeah.
But I really feel that I feel Ireland has a really good chance of making to the top 4. And I think whatever Australia will do, Australia is a good enough team to make it there. I see the same top 4, maybe Ireland in 4th place, if possible. But that's what I see. Honestly, I feel that if they play to their potential, they're a better team in these conditions than Sri Lanka is, definitely.
Yeah, now, Simon, with New Zealand so much in control, who would they really want in the semi-finals from the other group? They're going to play the second game.
Well, yeah, look, I mean, it looks at this stage, they're going to play India, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I would imagine the way that with South Africa winning that crucial game last night, I would think that New Zealand, if they qualify top, they're going to take on India in that semi-final. And, whether it be Adelaide or Sydney, I don't know the sort of the situation around. I think if Australia get through, I would imagine they would want their game in Sydney because of the bigger crowd.
Yeah.
And then it's a Sydney, Melbourne, Adelaide sort of semi-finals and final. So if it was India, it doesn't really matter where it is. New Zealand are going to have to play very good cricket if they qualify top. But you don't want to be taking South Africa on at this stage. I don't think either. They're a very, very good side. And imagine if South Africa had actually picked their best side.
Totally agree.
That has been the story for South Africa. But this one game is going to be really crucial for both teams because especially Australia, they need those 2 points and they need some boost to that net run rate. Now, a big booster shot to their net run rate was given by Marcus Stoinis in that game against Sri Lanka where they did seem to be struggling. But he came out and he really took Hasaranga on. But he took his time first, and that's been a trend in this tournament. But how pivotal is Marcus Stoinis to this entire unit? Because batters around him, Joy, aren't really in the best of forms.
Yeah, I think the way Australia constructed themselves is a fantastic idea, which is to say have 3 all-rounders at the core of it. You have Mitch Marsh, Glenn Maxwell, Marcus Stoinis, Cummings to a certain extent a bowling all-rounder. Look at it and say that you're going to have 6-7 bowling options and bat up to 9 almost, And that is how Australia is constructed. But Stoinis is key there because Maxwell is not going that hard.
Yeah.
And Stoinis is the one player among them who can play the Dinesh Karthik finisher role as well and play that number 3, number 4 role as well.
Yeah.
Sometimes they confuse him by moving him around too much, by saying, okay, you're an opener also and you're a number 6 also. But I feel that he's even more valuable to them at number 6. They can afford not to play him there because they have Tim David there now.
Yeah.
And so Tim David slotting in there means he comes in a bit earlier. He gets a chance to accelerate earlier. He's vital to them. He's extremely vital to them. His form is vital to them. And I'm putting it out there. I see him as a potential. I mean, look at the T20 side. Aaron Finch, I don't see him going very long. I see him as a potential T20 captain. I definitely see him in that position.
Yeah, that's very interesting. Also, what's interesting is something that he spoke about the IPL. Marcus Stoinis. I mean, I know a lot of these international stars really get a lot of big stage experience in the IPL, and Marcus Stoinis is definitely one of them. He's a star player in whichever team he goes, and he says, the IPL has changed my cricket and helped me evolve. And it's not only playing on the wickets, it's having the coaches from all over the world, having players from different countries. You come across a range of techniques and mentalities about how to play spin, and that's really evolved him as this spin marauder, so to say.
Yeah, look, it helps everyone's cricket, I think. And because it is the best competition in the world, it's the best domestic competition in the world. You've got, a lot of the best overseas players. You've got all of that talent that is in abundance in India. And you have to learn how to play in all conditions. And what I like about it now is the different surfaces around the country. You can get some pace and bounce in certain places, and you get turn in certain places. But it's not always just about low, slow spinning wickets. You go to Kolkata, you'll get pace and bounce. You get pace and bounce early season in Mumbai. You'll get spin down in Chennai. Everything's going to be different. When we go back to playing in 10 different venues as of next year, things are going to even be tougher and better, and it's going to produce better cricketers. So I think, Stoinis has got a really good point. The issue around, I guess, the Australian top order at the moment is that outside of Stoinis, you haven't really fired. Finch is struggling big time, but it's not unusual, is it? I mean, find me a captain. Which captain in this tournament has had a really good tournament so far with the bat? When you think about the big players, Josh Buttler, no. Kane Williamson, no. Rohit Sharma, no. Finch, no. So you're thinking about the four sort of big teams. Babar Azam, no. You're thinking about those captains. They haven't had a good time of it at all at the top of the order. So it's been tough, but who's going to do it? Maxwell has had one half innings. Mitchell Marsh hasn't really kicked on from where he was at the last World Cup. So Australia's batting woes are there for all to see. And, if Ireland can expose them a little bit and the ball moves around a touch, they could be, they could come out and blast. I get that as well. But Ireland will see these chinks in the armour, and they will know that if they get it right, they can cause some trouble tonight early on.
Yeah. That's such a nice observation about captains not performing. But for Australia, Simon, the problem is not only with their T20I captain, it's also with the ODI and Test captain. Pat Cummins just hasn't come into his own, Simon.
No, well, look, I'm with Joy. I'd picked Kane Richardson in the first game. I said in the warm-up games in Brisbane that I thought Kane Richardson should be playing. You look at those economy rates at the back end of the overs. Richardson's down in the last 12 months. I think Kane Richardson is around about 7.5 or 8 in the death overs, and he's picked up more wickets in that period of play than any other Australian bowler in the last 11, 12, 13 months. I just think they're too same with the ball, and none of those quicks, none of them have a really genuinely deceptive slower ball. Yeah. Mitch Stark can bowl one, Pat Cummins can bowl one, and Josh Hazlewood can bowl one, but none of them have an absolute deceptive slower ball, and that is what Kane Richardson does for the side. And I just think they've missed a trick. And look, this what we do is about opinions. And Pat Cummins could come out tonight and get 3 for 20, and people will turn around and say, "What would you know?" But you look at history and recent history, he hasn't been successful. Hasn't been successful with the ball in IPL competitions either. And so you take a wide view of it rather than an isolated view of it when he has the odd good performance. And I think you'll find that Richardson in the last 12 months is a better bowler.
It's also evident to the world now with these numbers, as Simon was also saying, Joy, and the performances on the field, and especially the players you're keeping out, Kane Richardson and Cameron Green, something that we were discussing a while back. But how does the team management tell a player of Cummins' stature and caliber that it's not really working, Pat? And I think we've got to look elsewhere.
Look, I think these conversations can happen. I remember, I keep going back to KKR. That's one dressing room I know well. 2014, when KKR is 2-4 and struggling, the person who came in the team dressing room, the vice captain of the team, was Jacques Kallis. And he said that the one thing we haven't tried is Robin Uthappa and Gautam Gambhir opening together. But the moment those two opened together, Jacques Kallis didn't have a place in the team, because if you have to play Jacques Kallis in a T20 format, you have to bat him 1, 2 or 3. He can't bat after that.
Correct.
Okay? So you're in a situation where he couldn't play. And he's a good enough player. Look, all these, he's a Hall of Fame player, Pat Cummins. He will finish his career as a Hall of Fame player. Okay? Whether he plays two more T20Is or not is immaterial to his career. He's a very sensible chap. I believe that conversation is not a difficult conversation at all. He's the first to admit, he'll be the first to put his hand up and say, I've not been delivering it out here.
Yeah.
But the point of it is that the team must want to make that change. And look, the fact that Pat Cummins is not in the 11 doesn't mean he's not there in the 14. He's not the kind who's going to sulk at the end of the bench. He's going to put on the bib and go out there and, so I see no problem at all. It's the easiest of decisions. To be honest with you, I feel countries in our part of the world, India, Pakistan, have a larger problem with senior stars sitting out than that they are true in Australia and New Zealand. I find they take it easier, they build into that room easier, because the whole team aspect is emphasized from a much earlier age. So I don't see a problem with that conversation. And I'm
And the thing is too, Joy, sorry, they're back at Brisbane. If you remember the warm-up game against India, who was the key bowler?
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
Kane Richardson picked up 4 wickets.
Yeah.
Absolutely. He was the bowler.
Yeah. But that's such an interesting point about the players taking it very well. Now, and it can be for a variety of reasons, Simon, in our parts of the world, because the competition is far more intense with just the sheer numbers that compete for that one spot. But for players like Pat Cummins, because, I'm just wondering from a viewpoint that I've grown up with. He's a captain in tests, he's a captain in ODIs. With that responsibility, there also comes an air of who you are. Is it still very easy to tell Pat Cummins and he sits out?
Look, I agree with Joy. I mean, it's a conversation that he would take very well. He's not going to come and say, "Look, I'm not bowling well enough. I think should give Kane a go." That's not him. That's not him, and that's not on him.
Mm-hmm.
But for the selectors and the captain to go to him and say, "Listen, Pat, we'd like to try Kane," he would take it incredibly. He'd be disappointed,
Mm-hmm.
but he would understand the reasons behind it because they are valid reasons. They're viable reasons. And whether you're the Test captain, ODI captain, it shouldn't make a hide of difference. You're not the T20 captain. You're not bowling well. This is not really your format at the moment, and we need to try something different. And if he doesn't take it well, and I'm sure he would take it well,
Mm-hmm.
then he shouldn't be in the squad, because that's, you are squad and team first, and your individual performances, they certainly add to that. But if they're thinking, "Oh, we can't drop Pat Cummins because he's a senior player and he's our Test captain and blah blah blah," then they've got the wrong end of the stick there. It's all about winning the World Cup, and if he's not, the best option, then that's not the way to go forward.
Yeah, it's all about winning that T20 World Cup for Australia. They're batting first. Ireland have won the toss and have opted to bowl first. Let's have a look at both the playing 11s. Australia first. There's only one change. Adam Zampa, who's out with COVID, comes back in. Matthew Wade has tested negative. Ashton Agar goes out. Ireland remain unchanged. They're saying this is our best side. We're not fixing anything because nothing's broken here. Now, before we go, we've got to do the Joy Factor question, the one place where the panel doesn't behave as a team, because Joyda doesn't give me the answer. Lets you all guess. So,
Okay.
So Joyda, take it away.
Here goes. Easy enough one. Who shared a Player of the Match award when he scored his only international white ball century? So he got it only once, and even then he couldn't get the award because somebody else did something good and he had to share it.
No idea. I mean, that question, it reads very simple, but I'm sure the answer is not simple enough. But I'm also sure that one of you has already got it. Hashtag Cricbuzz Live is where you send that in. Before we go, gentlemen, real quick. Australia batting first. How many are they getting in Brisbane? Simon?
Tough conditions. I'm going to say that they get to 163.
163. Joy.
I'm going to go a bit higher, only because I feel Australia is going to wait a bit and then really try and whack them out of the ground towards the end. So if Australia holds their nerve, I'm going for 174.
174. I don't know. I just have a feeling that Ireland and their bowlers are going to do really well. 145. And just mind you, gentlemen, I've been winning a lot of these predictions.
Yeah, you have what they call a little feeling.
All right. That's all that we have for you on Cricbuzz Live. We'll be back at the 10th over mark with Cricbuzz Combox. A big thank you to Simon Doull. Big thank you to Joy Bhattacharjya as well. This was Cricbuzz Live. See you soon.